left align is preferred, as in left align versus centered, or right aligned. You also typically want to keep this jagged edge. Now, some designers might not like it because maybe it's not very pretty. Maybe they want like justified, either justified left or completely justified. But the difference in the spaces between the words, to be able to make it stretch that full length, to give it that nice lined up right edge, can make it hard for people to read as well. So if you want your document to be easily read, keep it left aligned. No justification. Just have that ragged edge there. It's even worse if you do the right align. The right align is about as bad as it can get as far as legibility goes. And that's because as your eye is trying to jump from here back to the start, it's not in a consistent spot. And so that's more likely to cause confusion. Granted, you might say, well, when you have it left aligned, it's not ending at a consistent spot. But that's not as big of a deal because the ending point is not as important as the starting point. Lastly, or at least for main text, you want to be careful with how things are breaking up along this right edge and where things are going. So right now we have a lot of these hyphenations, which can make it more difficult for someone to read because they're having to start the word and then finish the word over here. And part of that is also based on the psychology of how we read, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So if we want to get rid of these hyphenations, just go ahead and highlight your text and tell it not to hyphenate. It will cause your edge to be more ragged, but that is easier to read than to have those hyphenations in there. In addition, we have down here what we call an orphan. So we have this little bit of text all by itself. So you typically want to avoid that. That could be rephrasing your words. That could be slightly shrinking or increasing the size of your text box, which isn't that big of a deal, assuming you don't have justification on, because it won't really be noticeable. But you should not do that by increasing the space between your letters or words, nor changing the font size, because that's going to make it feel different than the rest. You want it to be very not noticeable. Now, in addition to an orphan, you can also have a widow, and that's where you not only have something by itself, but it's not even by itself on the next line. Instead, it's by itself on the next page or on the next column. And so now they're having to go from the bottom of this column to the top of that one, remembering whatever they're reading. So that should also be avoided if you can avoid it.